So, I've got my pajamas, my fuzzy socks, and my tea. It must be time for another writing video. So unlike the last NaNoWriMo video I made, this one is completely unscripted, which means there's going to be a hell of a lot of raw footage, as well as a ton for me to sort and edit through. Nonetheless, this is what I love and what I'm most passionate about, so let's just sit back and relax. I mean, I've got my tea. What else do you need? Who am I as a writer? I am a plotter by choice. And when I say that, I mean, I never used to plot. I don't particularly enjoy it, but what I do thoroughly enjoy is having something to fall back on and having a plan. Because to me, an outline is more like a roadmap than anything else. When you're on an adventure, you might get lost, you might go on detours, but as long as you have a general direction and an idea of where you're going to go, it helps so much more than if you just got in a car and, left. To do my writing, I use a very common software, which is Scrivener, which is sold by Literature and Latte. Pro tip, the extended free trial for Scrivener has started, and you can use it from now until the end of NaNoWriMo. And if you happen to win, you can get 50% off of the $45.99. And if you don't end up winning, you still get 20% off for participating. For the record, in my outlining process, I never actually follow the 3-act structure or any of the other familiar outlining structures that we know of. However, with the particular story I'm working on, the sections are pretty clear-cut, and I actually am really enjoying the style and the way that everything is coming together at the moment. I personally don't want to disclose too much about my story before NaNoWriMo starts, before I actually begin getting into the meat of it, and I really just don't want people either stealing ideas or judging them, especially because it isn't fully developed. This is basically a premise, and it's going to change. However, what I will admit to you is that it is an alternating point of view story with 4 main characters and a 5th perspective, which is more of an overarching, all-knowing perspective. And I'm planning on having excerpts from other characters, as well as news articles and little tweets and Instagram pictures, and really making it a full, all-encompassing media experience. Because my story has teenagers, reality TV, and prosthetics. And while it can be considered realistic fiction because this technology exists right now, most will consider it science fiction. And because in the drafting stage of the novel, I don't want to go through all the research, I'm going to call it science fiction for the moment. I haven't quite decided when it's set yet, but it's going to be anywhere between 2010 and 2020 in a town right outside of New York City. What that town is called yet? I don't know. Will I find out for a while? Probably not. But I'm going to keep writing anyways. And that's the thing about drafting, is that you cannot stop to let your inner editor fight you. I actually have a friend in my creative writing course who is letting his inner editor defeat him and eat away at him. And today he actually for the first time wrote on his first chapter. He wrote only around like 200, 300 words. What he said, as well as what I gleaned from his facial expressions as a tone of voice, was that it felt so freaking awesome to go on a path that you've never gone on before and to just write and get the words out. In the midst of your noveling during NaNoWriMo, you cannot stop to look up names, you cannot stop to think of places, you cannot stop to think of whatever complex system you're using. If you need a witty comeback, do not stop. The key to NaNoWriMo, because it's only based on quantitative word count, is to keep going. Put the words down on paper and never look back. Bringing it back to what I was originally talking about, I'm going to give you a little backstory. The temporary title when I first thought of the story was The Support System. Since then, it evolved into the title of Circulatory and is now, and this is my official temporary title, because, there can be unofficial temporary titles as well, because that's totally what the meaning of the word temporary is. The title I have on the NaNoWriMo website is Countdowns. Putting aside the scientific aspects of countdowns, it really is an all-encompassing social as well as psychological experience based off of what society and the audience of this reality TV show is viewing it, as well as down on the minuscule, really clear levels of these 4 main characters whose lives we're following. And the main premise is that there were people before this operation and there are people after. I'm going to have a nifty graph somewhere on my face, but the main gist of what I have at the moment is exposition for the pre-surgery. Then there's the surgery itself, and then there's rising action into the first meeting, the second meeting, the third meeting, then there's the climax, and with the falling action and the resolution, there is the final meeting. By using the term meeting, I'm really just referring to the four of these characters getting around and discussing and basically laying everything out there, all their emotions, all their feelings on the table for what this surgery has put them through socially, mentally, and physically. And each meeting is basically its own mini climax leading up to the huge climax, which actually doesn't happen in a meeting, but it's the culmination of everything that has happened so far in the story. When do I write? During NaNoWriMo, the biggest challenge is finding out when exactly you have the time to write. Whether it means sacrificing a few minutes of sleep in the morning and getting up half an hour earlier, or if it means ditching the Netflix for a month and prioritizing so you have the last half hour of the day. Regardless, you don't have to cut out a huge 1.5 hour chunk of your day. It can be spread out with 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 10 minutes there. Trust me when I say this, all the words add up. I decided this beforehand that if cross country had gone into November, I would not participate or maybe tone down NaNoWriMo for this year, but that's not happening because cross country for me ends in the very end of October, and you can bet your bottom dollar that you will be seeing me on the 1st to the 30th of November. Because of this, I'll be getting home around 3:30, 4 o'clock every day, which is a lot better than getting home at 6 and then having to have dinner, do homework, and all of that. My creative writing course at school is on alternating days, so a set time in my school day is at least 40 to 60 minutes of pure writing time, which I know for sure that I can reach the 1667 for each day. That already takes care of at least 25,000 words because I'm in school the majority of November, minus, Thanksgiving break and the weekends, so I will definitely have time on those weekends, and because of the time in school, I'm already in a lot better shape than I was last year. Also, I have a lot less homework this year than I did last year at my old school while I was participating in NaNoWriMo, and I'm not going to move across the country this time. Hopefully. I would highly suggest that you just make the time. While you're doing word sprints, the thing to know is that it's just about putting words on paper and just going. People on average can write 1,000 words in 20 to 30 minutes. And when you think about it, that means at most what you'll need, if you're average, is 60 minutes of time in your day. For me personally, I lean closer to around 23, 25 minutes for 1,000 words, but I have known to break 1,000 in under 20. Those times are rare, but what can you do? How has creative writing benefited me? I'm taking my high school's creative writing elective and I absolutely love it. The teacher is awesome. I have found so many friends there and everyone is just really chill and understanding of everyone else because we're all writers and to some extent get what everyone else is going through, whether it's the writer's block or the sudden burst of inspiration or just the guttural need to have our fingers flying across a keyboard. Mr. Phillips, my writing teacher, opens up every class with a warm-up activity. We've done everything from reading a poem and discussing it and then writing another poem based off of that, or he'll give us the daily prompt from figment.com. I would highly suggest checking this website out. It sends you daily sentence-long prompts that really are unique and just get your brain going. The second 41-minute block of time in the class is spent purely writing, and what he'll say is just go. He grades his classes on effort, and if you're actually writing the entire time, it is a very easy class to get credit for. At the end of each marking period, which for us is a 10-week period, we have to submit a portfolio of everything we've worked on during those 10 weeks, and because it is a half-year course, there is going to be 2 portfolios due. That's pretty self-explanatory. Math, I know it's not all of us creative writers' good subject, but I think we can do it. What has writing class taught me? If you don't know, I've done several videos for writing class, and those have been a foray into fiction, a progression in playwriting, as well as my journey to the dark side, which focuses on the 3 genres of fiction, poetry, as well as playwriting. And I've benefited from these so much. I've learned tactics and strategies that overlap with all these different genres. I consider my writing a little bit more like prosody, leaning a bit farther onto the prose side, but I still do consider my writing very lyrical, and at times when I'm trying to write a poem, it really ends up being more prosody, and I'm just kind of in that gray area between the two. I've learned so much from those classes about structure and rules and actual elements of fiction and playwriting and all these different genres. What it comes down to in those actual writing classes is the feelings I get and the inspiration and just the fuel to the fire that it adds. It is burning inside of me, so cliche, that makes me want to write. Where do I want to be? Like many of you watching this video, or booktubers, or readers in general, you actually want to write and you want to recreate everything you see in these books next to and around me. Because once you've gotten a taste of something so exhilarating, you want to replicate it and try it out for yourself. I am definitely in that class of people. And if we're gonna answer the whole what do I want to be when I grow up question, I actually have a video about this, then I would most definitely have to admit I want to be a professional novelist. And while that is not obviously possible, and I do have backup plans such as going into any area of the publishing industry as an editor or a marketer or even a technical writer, my dream job is to be a professional novelist and to make money off of doing this because I love it so much already at the age I am right now, and after being exposed to so many more things in this life and going through college, I'm sure that the stories I want to tell will just be bursting out of me. During my time in high school, there are several things on my writing bucket list, and on that list is number 1, win something in the Scholastic Writing Contest, whether it's a gold or a silver or bronze or even an honorable mentions. I would very much like to at least submit and maybe even get published in the digital or even physical, no promises there, issue of Teen Ink. I would like to win NaNoWriMo all 4 years in high school because if I can move across the country and write 50,000 words, I can do it, no problem. I would like to actually finish and polish a draft sometime in my high school career, and there are 2 very prominent summer camps which I would like to attend, those being the Skidmore Summer Young Authors Program as well as the Bard College at Simon's Rock Young Writers Camp. Why do I write? Something I'm doing this year, which is so much different from last year, is that I've actually started the story. Because of the need to coincide my creative writing course deadlines with the NaNoWriMo deadline, I've actually planned on submitting the first 12 chapters of my novel to creative writing. Whether I will actually do that, probably not. But I'm hoping to have at least 5 of them, giving a taste of all of the different perspectives in my novel to my teacher and just to see what he thinks in the very beginning, because for me what I struggle with besides setting, don't even get me started on setting and world building because I have so much to learn, is the very beginning and the way to hook a reader and open up a story. At this point in time, on the 6th of October, I actually have at least 8,000 just solid words written down, considering I have the entire rest of October to get the first 12 chapters written, which will probably equate around, I don't know, 15,000, 20,000 words, because there are a lot of open weekends as well as just writing time that I can get in my words. I'm doing this so that I have a foundation and that I know the general direction of my story and where it's going in the month of November, because my biggest issue last year was just running out of outline and not really knowing what's going on. Personally, I have the entire ending figured out, though we all know it could definitely change by then, and I do have at least 20 good chapters. What I'm also planning on doing this year is writing down at least 20 good just backstory scenes, which I can somehow incorporate into this novel later when I'm going back and revising, but if I'm just struggling one day and needing something to write, I will have those there to help. This has been a struggle for me ever since I was really little in writing, and that is once I latch onto an idea, I'm pretty much stuck with it because ideas and whole premises for stories don't come to me that often, more like just once a year. However, in this particular case of where I am at this very moment on October 6th in 2015, I actually have my NaNoWriMo novel, but I also have 2 that are on the back burner that are just simmering and kind of waiting to be developed on, which I probably will attempt for either Camp NaNoWriMo or even next year's NaNoWriMo. It'll probably be next year because we all know I'm not getting to them anytime soon. Obviously there's countdowns, which I've already explained, but there are also 2 others. My temporary title for one is literally Untitled Dragon Story because yeah, that's basically all I've got. I'm focusing on a pair of twins, both of them being dragons, but one taking on a more European and one taking on a more Asian aspect of dragons, set in a more urban fantasy type world. The other I have is one that I thought of literally the night before school started, my first day of school this year, and it's temporarily titled The Humans just because I have no idea what else to title it, and it focuses on this kind of, I don't know, essence, this kind of being which doesn't really have emotion but is fueled for the need of survival and the interactions as well as the interworkings of their society. Obviously both of those ideas aren't very developed, which is why I'm focusing on the countdowns for NaNoWriMo this year, but the thing is I have other things on the back burner and I'm very excited to eventually get to them. Future Sophia in editing realized that I didn't film an outro, so here's your outro. Tell me in the comments below if you're participating in NaNoWriMo, answers to any of the questions I asked. Who are you as a writer, as a person, if you're a pantser or a plotter? What is your story about? I want to know it all. Thank you so much for watching. Keep calm, read on, and I'll see you real soon. Goodbye. If you enjoyed watching this video, give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment below. And if you liked it even more, hit the subscribe button. All my social media is around my face at SLLovesBooks, and my previous videos are below me.